ISD. On July 22nd, 2024 at 6:17 p.m. And we do have a quorum. If everyone would please stand for the invocation and pledge. Joe, would you mind leading us in the invocation?
Sure. Precious Lord, we come into your presence tonight, Lord. We just give you thanks for the blessings that you send our way each and every day. Lord, we humbly ask for guidance as we discuss and make decisions that will affect these kids, affect this community, not only this year, but possibly years to come. Lord, we ask your blessings on this community, on this board. Lord, just be with us. Lord, forgive us. Thank you for your son, Jesus. In Christ's name I ask. Amen.
Amen. Amber, would you lead us in?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the meeting. And nobody signed up? Okay. Dr. Torres?
Okay, just real quick, Chief Wood, if you come forward if you can, we want to welcome one of our new members of our ISD police force. So super excited to have a new folk come on. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I want to introduce the last hire that we have for the School District Police Department. Russell McComas goes by Shane. Came on just on 2 weeks ago with us. Coming from a small agency out of Northwest Fort Worth, and has worked in a couple of school districts doing security and everything else. So here in a couple of months, after everybody's trained, we will have somebody at every campus. So I appreciate your diligence with me, and give me time, give me patience as we go through this process. So thank you very much. Shane?
Get a picture of you over here. Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome.
Oh. We'll go to item number 5, campus reports.
Yeah, come on up, Leanne.
All right, good evening. Let's see if it gets blown up. Okay, summer's over. Who would have thought? So we're super excited. We had a wonderful summer school. We had, I don't know, a little over 30 students that showed up for pre-K, kindergarten, and ESL bilingual students. It was fantastic, and they're required to do 120 hours each summer if they choose to come. So it's a wonderful time for us to get to spend the extra time with those students and work on those skills that they need extra support in. Staffing update, Venus Primary is fully hired up. Woohoo. So we only had to replace one teacher this year, so super excited, and 2 paras. So a great retention for us this year, so I think it's going to be a great school year. And then we had a wonderful time at the PLC Institute. I know y'all saw several of us went, so we have been collaborating, planning, working together, so we're super excited on what we can bring that back to our teachers. And then we are diligently working on registration. I think in the last week, we have registered quite a few students for pre-K, which is fantastic, and our bilingual numbers are growing by the hour. So we're excited for the school year to get going. Thank you.
Is it off? There it is. Okay. At the time that I wrote this report for you guys,
everybody had been recommended for hire. We only had 2 left, and Mr. Martinez took care of that super-duper quick, and we are fully staffed at Venus Elementary, so we're super excited about that. And yes, I'm at the elementary. Super-de-duper is a word at the elementary school, Leanne Ortiz. You work at the primary. We were able to take a team of 14 to Avid, and the Avid team has even been talking ever since we returned from Avid, and they're so excited about implementing things at grade 3 this year. So that's new for us, and of course 4th and 5th, and adding more of the Wicker strategies into 4th and 5th grade this coming school year. And then we also took a large group to the PLC training and met with some of them even today, and working on our PD schedule for next week, and they are also super excited about adding more pieces to our instructional day. And we had summer school, but I do not have all of that data with me, so I'll put it on next month's report.
I just want to say everything at the middle school is super-de-duper too. Okay, so lots of things happening at the middle school. Just like Miss Ortiz and Miss Bach said, we took a bunch of teachers to the PLC training. And they have been back working and preparing for all the teachers to come back. We did have a position still open, and Mr. Martinez told me that my person accepted, so that's all filled now. We will probably still have a para position that we'll have to fill. Let's see. Our leadership team went to the TASSP. That's the Secondary School Principals Conference in Austin. Mr. Wary and I presented at that conference. We went to CEN summer training. We've done a lot of summer training. We went to CEN summer training. Some went to Abilene, some went to College Station. PLC, like they said. We went to Avid. We took a bunch of teachers and our administrative staff to Avid this summer. We took kids, most important, we took kids to TSA Nationals in Florida. We ended up with 38 kids going. And then from that, we had the high school architectural design team finished in the top 25 in the nation. High school structural engineering got 5th in the nation. Middle school off the grid got 4th place in the nation. And middle school forensic science got 7th place. And I'm going to throw out there, that's 2 6th graders. So that was pretty amazing. We had 2 young ladies make it to nationals for Taffy, and so they went to Washington, D.C. Ms. Nickel went with them because I went to Florida with the others all the same week. Busy times, and those 2 young ladies had written a children's story in both English and Spanish, and they received 1st place in the nation. So we were super proud of them. That's our kiddos at TSA, and so there's just a couple of pictures, and then I think there's one at the very end maybe. Nope, that's it. That's all we got. Thanks. You're up, sir.
I don't know if I feel pressure to bully because anyway, they want to time me all the time. Okay. I tried to go first. They cut me off. Okay. Updates for VHS. Summer school testing is in, and you're going to get a snapshot of that later on. But it went extremely well. I am very proud of the biology and the social studies. So that went great during the regular testing, and it got more good news during summer testing. We had 12 staff members along with administration. We also went to PLC Institute. And I think the good thing there is when you have new administrators, you go together, you come back sharing the same academic vocabulary. So when you get in the classroom and you get in the PLC, it's the same thing. You know, you don't have people saying one thing and then delivering different messages. So I am excited about that. We also sent administrators to AVID and CEN, and we are PD'd up for the summer, I guess we could say. Okay, I'm most excited to say that this year we had 10 vacancies, And we are currently only one math teacher away from being fully staffed. And we made the recommendation today, and Mr. Martinez does his magic, so hopefully by tomorrow we will be fully staffed. And in the math, we have 6 math teachers. 5 of them will be math certified. And one of them is not math certified, but she is certified. So, and she's been in that spot before and done extremely well. So that was a big relief to myself and Miss Haddad. So she's come to visit me. Fish camp is tomorrow. From 6 to 8, and we will have 175 freshmen to address, and we have 8 newcomers to the district. We invited them to come as well to get the same, orientation. So I'm excited about that. And then lastly, we met with Mentors Care today. It was kind of exciting. We met them, they met us, so we had the counselors and their people and kind of went through, I guess, roles and responsibilities of what they do, what we do, and they walked the building with us, and we showed them where they were going to be housed. So we just need to get furniture and a telephone line in that office, and we are ready to go. So I'm extremely excited about that because, you have 20 to 30 kids that, for lack of better words, Dr. Torres says, fall between the cracks, and they don't have anyone to identify. So I think this program will benefit us in the long run. Okay, thank you.
Where's the office, the Mentors Care office located?
It is in B Hall, the first room on the left. It used to be where we keep all the paper for the building for the high school. So it's pretty big, pretty long, and they were kind of happy they had a spacious room. So I just need to get some furniture in there for them. Mm-hmm.
Go to item number 6, academic update. Dr. Morgan and Mrs. Camacho.
All right, good evening. Just a quick academic update for summer. You will hit the next slide for me. All right, a summer school update. I know you heard a little bit about this in the campus reports. VPS students completed about 3,000 hours of summer school. VES students completed almost 3,400 hours of summer school. VMS students completed 1,700 hours of summer school, and VHS students completed over 1,400. So cumulatively in the district, we had about 10,000 hours of summer school that happened at all 4 campuses, as well as summer retesting. All right, per your request last board meeting, I know that y'all requested to see the state averages. So we did include those. I'm not gonna go over all of them, but they're in there. Obviously the spring 2024 scores haven't changed for us, but it does include the state average for each grade level and each content, so that you're able to compare those. Are there any specifically that y'all want to look at? We can zoom in. It's a lot of color, a lot of numbers. All right, we'll move right along then. All right, so this is our summer EOC retest results. We actually just got those in this weekend. So as a reminder, these are the students that took their EOCs in spring, so in April and May, and they did not pass their EOCs. So they have another opportunity to take the EOCs in summer. So we did summer testing June 18th, 19th, and 20th. So you can take a look for English 1. You'll see summer, and then you'll also, for us, for VISD, and then you'll also see the state average. And then under summary, because our summer numbers are so small, sometimes a percentage can be, if you have 10 kids, a percentage can be misleading. So what we do is we look at the number of students that made approaches or higher, because that means that student was not successful when they took it in April and May. Now they have retaken it after summer school. Most of the students that retook these tests, a lot of them attended boot camp, so they had some additional instruction. So for English 1, we had 6 students that approached or higher. For English 2, we had 7 students that approached or higher.
For Algebra 1, we had 14 students that approached or higher, which is probably the highest percentage we've ever had, thanks to a wonderful math teacher. We had a true Algebra 1 boot camp this summer, and it was wonderful. So we're really excited about those. For biology, we had 8 students out of 10 that took it, that approached or higher. So that's an 80% pass rate, obviously way better than the state. So we're really happy about that. And then for U.S. history, we had 6 students that took it out of 7 and passed it. So also really, really happy about that. So altogether, we had 41 students that have now passed their tests after previously not passing their tests, and so they don't have to worry about them anymore. They don't have to retest anymore for those subjects.
On the top 3, do you have the percentages?
Yes, they're up there. They're just hard to see.
It's,
So
yeah, it's,
yeah, the red right there. The red is did not meet, and you'll notice that. So for English 1, it's 74%, which looks high. But if you look at the state average, that's also what it is. Students that aren't successful the first time they take it, obviously the passing rate is a lot lower the second time. So for English 2, we were at 73% did not meet. We had 27% that passed. But we actually beat the state average because in the statewide, only 20% of the students that took it passed. And so we focus really, really hard on writing, especially during summer school. And so just looking at some of the writing scores too, they did look a little bit better. So that's still a major focus. Any other questions? Anything specifically?
Did we do boot camps at any other campuses besides high school?
They did summer school. So at the high school, it's different because they're preparing for retest. Obviously, at middle school and elementary, they don't retest. So they did summer school and they did instruction. But specifically at the high school, we had two kinds of summer school. We had credit recovery for students that needed to recover credits, and then we had boot camps for students that did not pass their EOC and were going to retake it in the summer. And we did have students do both. So a lot of students, if they needed, they could do half credit recovery and then half boot camp if they needed to recover both. So there was instruction at the other campuses, but it wasn't necessarily a boot camp because they weren't preparing to retake the test in 3 weeks. If that makes sense. All right, we can go to the next slide. Okay, and the last thing today is going to be the AP program summary. So we did receive our AP program scores about a week and a half ago. So this is a summary over the last 5 years for the AP program for Venus ISD. So you can see that that top row right there is the total number of AP students. So you can see that year after year, that number has increased, which is what we want. So we started out, and the first year was actually the year before this, but we usually look at a 5-year track. And the first year was just a few students. So we started out at 46 students, 68 students, 81, 99, and this year we had 125 students that took AP tests. And then your second line is going to be the number of AP exams. So if you can look, and that has also been steadily increasing, but for this year, for 2024, so we had 125 students, but they took 144 exams, because a lot of students take multiple tests in multiple subject areas. And then you'll see our AP students with scores of 3 or higher, which is what most colleges consider passing rates. So on the AP scale, you can get a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Anything 3 or higher, colleges will usually reward credit for. And the higher that they get, the more college credit that they get. So this year, out of 125 students, we had 49 students that scored 3 or higher. And if you look at the percentage at the bottom there, that's 39%, which is our highest percent ever. So we're really, really excited about that. If you look at the scores collectively, all of the students that earned a 3 or higher, based on their score in their subject area, they qualify for 296 hours of college credit for them when they go to college. So, and some of those, depending on their content and their scores, some of them qualify for 3 or 6 hours, and we have some students that qualify for up to 14 because they earned a 5. So that's really, really good. That's a really good advantage for them. So we're still growing the program. We're hoping to keep it growing. We're adding new subjects when we can, and then adding AP and adding some pre-AP classes as well to help prepare them when they do take their AP classes.
How many of the, so there were 125 total, 2 students took AP?
Yes,
How many
120.
of those students did not take the AP exam?
We only had 6 students that didn't take it. There were 2 that had emergencies, 2 that decided not to take it, we have them sign a contract at the beginning of the year,
So
saying
they have
if
to take the exam.
yes, if you're and so if they don't, they have to pay, because we have to pay an unused exam fee if they don't take it. So we actually had them. We implemented that this year. At the very beginning of the year, they signed a contract saying, "I understand this is an AP class. I understand it's rigorous. I understand it's going to be a lot of work. I understand if I'm going to be in the class all year, because they're getting weighted GPA. So if I'm going to be in the class all year, I'm expected to take the exam." And so they all signed the contract this year. And so I really think this year they had a really good idea going into it. Like, this is going to be, we're expecting some good work from y'all. And overall, it went really well. We did have a couple of students that took it in the late. We have 3 students that took it in the late window because they had medical emergencies, and so those aren't reflected here, but those scores should be coming in soon as well.
Good percentage of participants to take the test.
Yes, yeah, we want. I mean, like I said, if they're in the class, we want them to take it. If they're doing the work all year, we want to see what they can do. So, any other questions? All right, I think that's it. All right, you're very welcome.
We'll go to item number 7, operations update. Mr. Gatewood?
Yes, ma'am. All right, first of all, I want to say good evening and thank everybody for allowing me to present an update on operations. I've been here for about 4 months, and I've hit the ground running, doing a million things. Okay, the first thing I'm going to cover here is room C8. As you know, we've poured a lot of money into room C8. This is a before picture. As you can see, the before picture, there's lack of outlet plugs, broken down furniture, and an old school whiteboard there. Okay, going to go to the after. As you can see, the after, this is what it currently looks like. As you can see, we have new carpeting there. We have new outlets that's embedded in the floor, new type of furniture that has tables. And what's unique about these here particular tables, it's like whiteboard material where students can actually write on that whiteboard material and actually flip it up to display what they've written down, what they've designed. And also, I went in there and played around with it. We have the world's largest TV screen, about 133 inches. That's up there, and it works pretty good. Also around there, you have wireless speakers by JBL. So tremendous amount of money poured into C8. Again, we want to communicate to students excellence. That's the district's motto, and we want to put the best product that we can out there and make them understand that we're all about excellence here. And I think we have provided them with an excellent facility to do their P-Tech and dual credit learning. The next I'm going to talk about is the Ag Barn. We had some issues at the Ag Barn and went out there and did quite a bit of work at the Ag Barn. We're going to start with the cameras. As you can see right there, the cameras were installed, but the wires were just laid out unprotected. We had just some issues out there. So what's going on right now? Right now, this is currently in works right now. We have someone that has come in. They're actually putting the steel pipe up around to protect that particular wiring, because you know you're in a barn. When you're inside a barn, there's always going to be rodents, and rodents are going to gnaw at the particular wires and make those cameras not operate correctly. So that's what's going on right now as we speak in the Ag Barn. We also have some other updates to the Ag Barn. In the past, large dogs have gotten in and gotten to the livestock. So what we did, we went out there on the picture to your left. We maintenance. They built some fences that's like 6 foot high, so the dogs can't go underneath them, over the top of them, or to the side of them, protecting that livestock. It's a huge investment to our kids, huge investment. So we have put some work in there. We also put in some industrial fans. We brought them in, but I'm gonna kind of abbreviate it. It's a company called Big A Fans. That's the ultimate goal, to put those fans up on the ceiling, those big industrial ones. That's the ultimate goal. But for right now, we just have the ones we got from Home Depot and wheel them in there. We also, I'm not going to get too deep into transportation. I know Mrs. Tubbs is going to cover transportation right after this here. But with your blessing, we're able to deliver 2 buses. And I also I gave you a handout of what particular what those graphics could look like. This is not what it's going to look like. This is the portion of the bus that we can wrap. It's the backside of that bus. Mrs. Tubbs, she's auctioning off the old buses that's now parked at maintenance to pay for those particular wrap that goes around that bus. So she does have a process. We haven't decided what that looks like. That's totally up to your decision and you and Dr. Torres, but this is just an example of what they could look like. Okay, administrative updates. I know some of you probably saw me walking around. I walked every square inch of the district, from rooftop to closets, to you name the space, I walked it. I walked it with the State Energy Conservation Officer, just trying to come up with some energy conservation guidelines. That just came about as I walked throughout the campus. I noticed that some of the lights were fluorescent and not LED lights. I would walk into our whole campus, our whole district is not on the energy maintenance system. So sometimes I'd walk into a portable and I would find that the air conditioner would be set at 70 degrees. It should never be set at 70 degrees. These were empty classrooms. So we're developing some type of guidelines. The goal is to optimize energy consumption while balancing students and staff's energy needs and comfort levels. So there is something that I'm working with to save the district money, because we have to be fiscally responsible when we're running energy. We can't just put out, just ungodly amounts of energy. We can't just do that. I also constructed a Venus ISD UIL Administrator On-Duty Handbook, because wasn't one in place. We have a lot of new assistant principals, and when you show up for duty, there should be some expectations. Show up an hour ahead of time, introduce yourself to the officials. These are the expectations for parents. This is what you should expect from the students. This is the protocol for what happens if you have someone that's not meeting those expectations, how to put them out the game. So I just put that stuff there in writing. Also, worked on the campus handbooks. I was updated to include the visitors policy. Now, I know you asked about the visitor policy before, but we had a great local policy here, GKC Local, which is Community Relations Visitors. I also gave you a copy of what's in the student handbooks regarding those visitors. This is all in every campus student handbook, from primary school all the way to the high school. Okay. I also added the names and positions of the school board and also the superintendent, because I think that's important that the community, when they open that up, who's in charge of that district, who runs that district, who to contact. So I think that's critically important, that your names is in that student handbook and also the superintendent's name. And that's consistent through all handbooks from every campus. The student code of conduct has been updated. The only change that is still pending from the state is the newly available non-tobacco nicotine products. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, I had to look that up and figure out what exactly is a non-nicotine, that's a non-tobacco nicotine product. And I gave you a handout what that looks like. Basically, it's just I'm gonna date myself a little bit. Remember the old Skoal pouches used to have back in the day? They now have reproduced those to where it's not tobacco, but it has a high dosage of nicotine in it. They're also dissolvables, which you'll see with those basically Listerine drops that dissolve in your mouth. The state haven't given us guidance on that, though. It says they're still pending, so that is the only change in the student code of conduct, and it's still pending from the state. So I don't really have an update on what to do when we catch a student with that particular product, but just wanted to make you aware that was the only change in the student code of conduct. The PEAMS handbook, we created a PEAMS handbook. Shelley Hicks, she did a tremendous job. We're trying to just do a better job of making sure that the data that we're getting and we're submitting to the state is as accurate as possible, because you're talking about money, you're talking about discipline data. It just needs to be as accurate as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm most proud of this here. When I came here, I said, okay, we have to show up to that first SAC meeting. Yes, sir.
I just want to go back.
Go ahead.
We will have a consistent policy in place before school starts. So a kid who's caught with that at whatever level will receive the same consequences, correct? I mean, the state hasn't given you guidance, but
Yes, sir.
it is our district prerogative to set a standard on what that discipline would be.
Yes, sir. You are correct. It is the district prerogative to set a standard what that discipline should be, but the state has not given us guidance yet, sir.
But will our principals have the guidance on what that punishment would be?
Yes, sir.
Recommended punishment? Okay.
Yes, sir. I'll put something out. I didn't want to put that in there already because I just don't have guidance. Just waiting on to see if the state will give us guidance, because sometimes, like for instance here, when they were changing the vaping law, they clearly said, okay, this here is DAP automatically. Just waiting to see if that's going to be DAP. For right now, I don't have that guidance. If I don't get it in the next couple of weeks, I will put something out to the campus principals.
Yeah,
Answer
and
your
that
question,
could
sir?
change. That could change. Do something. We got to turn right around. So
Yes, sir.
But
That's the
naturally, if you say it's mandatory ISS and the state says it's mandatory DAP, the state, you're going to change it, so.
Yes, sir. Okay, the Student Health Advisory Committees, the SHAC Committee, and the Site-Based Decision-Making Committee. One thing I noticed when I showed up here is that it was mostly comprised of staff members and administrators. I wanted to include the community and have them active in local educational decisions. I was very happy that Mrs. Price sent a parent square out, and I'm pleased to say we had 16 volunteers from the community to participate on those two committees. So that does show that the community wants to be involved in local decisions here, want to play an active part in what's going on here in the school district. So truly pleased with that. So we'll be setting those committees up here shortly. Now, I could go on and on with maintenance. There's a million things going on with maintenance, so I'm going to just highlight just a few things. The high school parking lot has been restriped. All the floors have been polished. New signage has been placed around the district. All the painting has been completed. All major repairs have been completed, and schools are functional to receive kids for instruction. But with that said, there's always something small that pops up. Some things that we're still working on right now, working on a situation with the robotics class over at the middle school, and also with the basketball courts over at the elementary school. So we're hoping to have those completed by the start of school, but that is what's still pending. But structurally, the schools are ready to receive kids and staff, and we're ready to kick school off. Okay, last not least, we're going to do a program, Meals for After School, providing supper to our students after school. We have a lot of students that participate in after schools activity, whether it's Key Club, football, and band, just in tutoring. A group called Project Altruism is going to provide that free of cost to us. Not going to cost the district anything. We just have to provide the hungry students. They're going to provide this here for our students. They do it for Fort Worth ISD, Newman Academy, and numerous other schools. So has nothing to do with us. They're going to provide the food. They're going to provide the manpower. We just have to provide the hungry kids. Because I think that's critical that we give those students something to eat. If you're up here at school all day, then you're going to participate in an event after school, you're starving. Some of those kids are very large. And they actually put out a menu. Hey, I'm a large guy. Hey, I'm 260 pounds. I need something to eat. Yes. Hey, I'm 260 pounds, so I feel his pain. I'm hungry. Okay, they actually put a menu out, as you can see, just as an example menu, a sample menu of what they had offered back in April 2024, this past year. They, as you can see, it's a pretty good meal for the students there for after school, and it's free of cost, not going to cost us anything. Again, it's by Project Altruism. Any questions, guys, at this time?
They serve it every single day at like a certain time, or how does that get rolled out?
Okay, what's got to happen? Dr. Torres has the letter he has to sign on his desk, so he'll sign that letter, and they'll come every day and deliver that food to us. Every day that we have school.
Is all year long for all the kids that are after school?
Yes, ma'am, it is all year long. Every day that we have school for all our kids that participate after school. We just have to give them the numbers that they need to serve.
Outstanding. Do they have like for just accountability, is there anything we have to put together, like, say football is getting out at 8 o'clock, they turn in 40 names? So surely they have to have some type of idea of how many meals to bring.
Yes, sir. The way it works, like, so for instance, here, if she's talking about football, they'll contact Coach Verdell. How many meals do you need a day? What time you're getting out? Get those logistics. That's how they set it up. We do have to provide them the individual people that's supervising those kids. Like if I'm doing after-school tutoring, how many teachers are providing after-school tutoring, and how many meals do you need?
So the sponsors will all know that that's one of their responsibilities, to turn in all that.
Yes, sir.
Do I turn it in today for tomorrow?
I hope so, sir. I haven't talked to. Yeah,
On your way, but I need 150.
because if you have the Howard Gateways of the world, I'm gonna be waiting for that supper here. I don't want to get shorted.
I don't want to, it to be a super success, which here, it has that possibility to be a great success. 200 people show up and we have 50 sandwiches.
I know, sir.
And then after 1 or 2 times of that, they'll stop coming, and then you turn a great program into.
Yes, sir.
So.
And I found out about this here working the food bank. You guys are familiar with Anna Powell. She approached me this here, talked to Tina about it, talked to Brandy about it to make sure we weren't violating any of our policies here. It wasn't going to cost us any money. We weren't going to get in trouble with our nutritional program, and it's not. It's totally separate.
So let's do Purple Hearts?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gatewood, do you mind if I give you a quick update on the Ag Barn project?
Please do.
As of today, all of that work has been completed and all the cameras have been checked, and all but one camera had an issue, but all the work has been completed at the Ag Barn.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to go turn over to Mrs. Tubbs. She's going to expand on the transportation. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Hi. Good evening. Okay, I'm gonna update. Which one is this? No, let's start with Fuel Master. All right, so I have been here just short of the length of Mr. Gatewood. So I've been kind of looking at what we have, the projects that we have going, or the systems that we have in place, and just kind of assessing what needs to be done and what's a priority and what's, we can do some research on. Well, first off, let me go with the new buses. Love them. They're so pretty. They are actually scheduled to go on a route. They're getting their radios this Friday, and yeah, we're real excited about that one. As you stated, the 7 buses are up for auction, and so I have looked into a few companies to get some quotes on wraps, and once we decide on that, then they'll help structure a wrap that we can look at and approve. So that's on that. Let's see. Okay, so back to the pumps. Looking at the pumps and addressing that, it looks like there's a date of 2009 that they were last updated. Pumps itself can have a lifespan of 15 to 20 years if protected by elements. We have no awning over ours, so 100-degree sun is beating down on it, rain's beating down on it, snow and ice is beating down on it. We've had one pump break, and so that's kind of, Darren knows a little bit more about the history of it, and I'm gonna have him speak about what was done in the past and what, I'll go into what we talked about to do in the future.
Howdy. So we're having an issue with the pumps. So these pumps are suction pumps, and they have to rely on pressure. Like a water well has a submergible pump. These do not have that. Cars and buses and everything today have a pusher pump to get pressure to the high pressure pump. Kind of the same system is what we're looking at going to. But we're having an issue because the pumps will vapor lock. We've had, it'll just spit back at you. Sometimes it just won't work. Some of that has been due to running out of fuel because of the clock gauges that we have to be able to tell how much we actually have in there. Don't work. We've adjusted them. I've had them adjusted twice before. I've adjusted them a few times, but like gasoline varnishes up. It makes the rod stick. It's just something that happens. So right now we rely on Fuel Master to give me some guidance, but if I get the numbers wrong, I'm wrong. because getting up on top of the tank is not the easiest thing to stick read them. So that's why you have a clock gauge, just so you can see kind of what your measurement is. So anyway, the pumps we have, nobody really uses them anymore. They growl, they're really noisy. That's not really the issue. It's more about what it's having to pull, because what it has to pull actually comes, a standpipe comes out of the tank, at the top of the tank, then it has to go down around to the bottom of the pump, and then the pressure comes out to the deal. So it's actually asking a lot to do. You know, there's a few turns. We don't have in-ground tanks. Nobody really does that. Not in a school district. You don't even want to open that up. Because right now, if we have an issue with our tanks, we can see anything, any kind of leak that we've got, because everything's exposed.
The pump itself that's on the outside is actually, they don't make it anymore. They make the parts, but the parts itself take weeks to get in. And at that point, we're calling and having a repair, and then we're, again, waiting, and we're at the mercy of Fuel Master. So the update that we are wanting to do, it would, again, update the pump itself, the housing fixture. It would do a submergible pump. We would have the monitors on there, the readers on there, accurate. So then we wouldn't have the vapor lock, that sort of thing. The drivers would actually be able to scan their badge into the pump instead of putting in a number. Currently, our system, we can't add drivers. We can't update, and we haven't been able to update the last 4 years because it's a computer-based software. This would be cloud-based, and so they would be able to do all the updates. So that's really something that's kind of needed at this time. I mean, this will get our kiddos to school, and we won't have to worry about it. Okay, so moving on.
Excuse me, let me ask a question. You're talking about 2 new pumps, one for the gas, one for the diesel.
Correct. This would get us, yes, this would update it to our current system where we wouldn't have to do anything for another 15 years or so.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, Darren already went over the current system. And so the cost for that is $46,629. But again, that we would be able to utilize what we have, or it would be more efficient.
Question for Ms. Mayo. Is this in the budget, or will this come out of fund balance?
So we have been talking, Ms. Tubbs and I have been talking, and so she has some funds currently in this budget that can cover this, but unfortunately, due to the timing and this contract coming in August, as you know, we can't get work done before August the 31st. And so what we would recommend is that funds that she had planned to use, as we all know, on August 31st, that drops the fund balance. What we would like to do is come back in September and with a budget amendment, request those identified funds back out of the fund balance to fund the PO into next year.
Okay. Moving on to the routing system, I really would have loved to love NFT. I heard about the tracking, I heard about the usage of it, the scanning of kids. Unfortunately, it's not working. It's very not user-friendly. For me being in the office, dispatching, routing, that sort of thing, I can't do things at my fingertips. There's about 6 pages that I have to go through in order to make a route, where other programs, it's maybe a page that I go to and I can do it all at one. So I've looked at Easy Routing, Versatrans, and TransFinder. And right now, TransFinder Plus, which I know we had TransFinder Pro previously, Pro was a computer-based, where this is a cloud-based, and so everything is updated automatically. But it is super user-friendly, and I have used this program before. So if we go to the TransFinder map, I think it's a few down. So off of this page right here, this maps page, I can actually combine a route. If there's a route that needs to go down, if a driver doesn't show up, it would automatically update in the system. I can swiftly move kids to a stop. I can change the directions In NFT, I cannot change directions. So if they're scheduling a bus, that's just the way it shows. This way I would be able to do things more efficiently, avoid a road that may be flooded, or avoid an intersection that's not very friendly to cars. So this would make it a lot safer. I can change the stop boundaries. I can measure out the walkout distance from a house. So rural roads is up to a half a mile. If we do 0.2, it'll actually tell me I can go to the child's house and walk it to the stop, and it'll tell me exactly how far that child's walking. And then I can change the name of the route. I can change the driver. I can change the bus number very quickly. With NFT, for their routing, you have to go to one page to do a route. You have to go to another page to submit that route. You have to go to another page to combine stops and to make stops, and then you have to go to another page to add children. So it's very not user-friendly. So that's kind of what we're looking into with updating, is to get something that's a little bit more parent-friendly as well. So this is their NFT's map page, and you can see where the map is on here. You really can't do anything from this page. You can see where the map you can print it, and then you can see where it goes. But it doesn't tell me the stops. I can't see the kids' names. You don't see the drivers' names. Yeah, and I've also found some communication errors having a conversation with Ms. Ortiz earlier this summer. There's parts of NFT that are not communicating, and that's a big safety issue when we're looking up a child. So, and if it wasn't for Ms. Ortiz, we're going into another area to find this child where we would, our normal search engine.
Have you used the one that you were showing us, the cloud-based one? Have you used that before?
I have. My old district, I was actually doing the routing, and so it was very easy to use.
Okay. We've just had situations, and not your situation because you haven't been here that long, where we've been presented these and they've been the best thing in the world, and it's going to just change the whole world, and then it ends up being really just not good at all, and we just have problems and we struggle.
No.
So, but the other one you have used.
Correct. So with TransFinder, let's go to Info Finder right here. This is actually the parent. So this would actually go on our transportation page. The parent can put in the address. New people or homes that are coming into it, parents can look up their address and find out if there's a stop or if we pick up. So they could actually put this in. It would tell them where the stop is, the time the AM pickup. It would tell them the PM drop off, and what bus number they're on.
The student scans on and off.
Yes.
Because Amber still can't find her son. I know that's been going on.
And that's what we're having. Okay, so now going back to Wayfinder. Okay, so Wayfinder is actually that system with TransFinder. So NFT uses Android 9 tablets, which are designed for trucking. They're not designed for pupil transportation, and they only use one network. So with TransFinder, they're using Android 14s. Why? Because student transportation is very important and they're student forward. And they actually use T-Mobile, they use AT&T, and they use Verizon. So if one's not picking up, another one will, so that we do not lose tracking. But I really actually like the Info Finder feature, because we can give it to those real estate agents that are coming in and say, hey, I have a homeowner that's wanting to purchase this house, and how do we find this? Well, it'll tell you exactly. It'll tell you what time they go and what stop they're at, and they'll see some friends.
Your previous district, what was the percentage of parents that actually downloaded the app and used the app? And
so in my old district, we bused 5,000 kids without tracking.
okay.
So because of Info Finder, because we had everything laid out and they were able to see it, they knew when the bus was coming.
What is the cost difference between what we're currently using and the implementation and installation of this
Well, NFT, what we're currently using previously was paid with ESSER funds. This would be the first year that we're paying out of pocket. And so the upkeep for, upkeep for NFT for this current year would be 30,600 and some change. So to get the TransFinder with everything that we have with NFT, the startup costs, which would cover training of the tablets and the program and 6 months of them making sure that everything's transferred over into, you know, all the names and everything, startup cost with that is $126,000. But we're talking about an upgrade of Android 9s to Android 14s, 3 networks.
Where does that sit budget-wise?
I haven't seen the exact breakdown, but I do know that with some of the NFT money, I think we could reallocate it to TransFinder, but we don't currently have the whole amount budgeted or planned for next year's budget, so it would be an add.
That would be a plus 100,000.
Yes.
Plus 100,000 plus.
Yes, I Ms. Tubbs could speak more to that, but yes.
Yeah, I do have, if we were going, well, yes. To answer, yes.
But the other program does not work. Multiple people, it does not work.
I can tell you from the mornings that I've come in that I absolutely needed it, the site crashed. The tablets didn't work, my drivers can't use it.
This was a startup company out of Granbury, was it? Glenrose.
Glenrose.
And we were only like the third school to ever do it.
What is the year, so after the startup cost, what is the annual fee?
It goes down quite a bit. I'm not quite sure what that is, because we just got what the startup cost would be. I can go, when we go into more detail with them, we can find out what that is.
What happens to the old equipment we have with NFT? What do we do with that? We don't get any reimbursements, they don't come get any of that, we just now have devices we can't use for anything.
Well, no, we could probably jailbreak them and use them for what we need them for, or for anything, special education, keeping kids, you know, educational purposes in classrooms. We can find somebody to do that.
Again, another outstanding idea in the middle of a deficit budget.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got 4 or 5 things that are all great ideas. It just happens to be, right now, can we swing $100,000+? And when we implemented NFT, how many years ago has that been?
3.
But it was 2 years we weren't even using it, were we? It hadn't been ironed out. Wasn't there like a year and a half we went through, didn't even get, the kids weren't even badging in because.
It wasn't working the whole first year.
Yeah.
And
So.
we tried to stop it after that first year. We brought it back.
But the one we had before that, it was 2 years in, and kids weren't even badging in yet then, because it seemed to be a glitch with every ridership program we've had. So I don't, to pay that much money and then have it not sync the way it sync, or it's $120,000 for the cost of the program. Oh, but it's also $50,000 for this and that. So if I had an overarching picture of exactly how much it would cost, if somebody says we're going to walk in there tomorrow, it's going to take 2.5 months to implement, and your total cost is $127,550 out, boom, and you're done. That's great, but you buy it, you spend it, and then you find out we need $50,000 worth of something else for the buses, or we can't jailbreak those systems, and then now it's not $120,000, it's $170,000, and now we're approaching, other things we've presented that we can't do because of deficit budget.
So
I'm
the
sorry.
plan for this was to give us information on it, correct? And then get our feedback, and then get additional information and bring it back to us again.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's, we had been talking about it really since you started, a lot of different pieces. I said, let's give it a few months, let's look at everything, all the things we just talked about, our experience working with, in other districts with this particular program. And I said, let's give the board an update and let's see what questions they have, because obviously safety is important, but also efficiency with what we're doing as far as transportation goes.
So I know we're coming upon a new school year. If we don't renew the NFT and we haven't made a decision on the new, will NFT carry us through at least the start of the school year? Or when does that contract end?
That I would have to talk to them about. We could probably do a month-to-month with them. The other option is that if they choose not to, we can start a TransFinder. I know that just the startup program and the parent communication part of it, which is StopFinder, is $15,000 to get that rolling.
Because if NFT is not working and it's causing you more headache, I don't know why we would pay the $30,600.
So
Just keep it.
Right. So with TransFinder and speaking with their rep, because again, I've gone through Easy Routing and VersaTrans, and nothing's really comparing to what we need and any of that. But we can do it in phases. So for $15,000, we can get the routing part of it and the parent communication. It will not have tracking, unfortunately, and that would be something that we could do in the future, even if it's just the tracking of the buses versus the tablets, and then upgrade to the Wayfinder and things like that. So that we can do it, I can talk to them about doing it in phases if we go that route.
So you were at a district that had 5,000 students and the students didn't badge in?
Nope.
And why was that?
They didn't do it. They chose not to.
Just chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a radio
No,
system.
it has gone to board. It has been discussed. It was just something that they chose not to do. But we've never lost a child. And parents, if the ones that we did not drop off by themselves were kindergartners and first graders, if they didn't have a parent, if they had an older sibling, they walked with the older sibling.
So the scanning in is really not working with what we have right now, though, right?
If the program crashes, it doesn't work at all. The scanning itself, if another child rides with another child, it'll put the child on there with a roster, or it'll add it to the roster. But if I was to print out who's currently on that bus, that child will not appear on that bus.
So with NFT, the scanning's not working. The routing and parent communication isn't really working either?
No.
And we're gonna pay $30,000, but we could move to TransFinder for $15,000 and just do the routing and the parent communication and figure out the scanning at a later date or something.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And the 26.3 for NFT was already in the budget? We already planned for that?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. The 26.3 for NFT was actually because the previous director had added a few things. It was actually $30,000. That was to be paid.
Is there a contract? Is there a contractual deadline with NFT that we?
Well, I'm sorry, what was your question?
Is there a contractual deadline with NFT that we've signed through September, October?
When did our contract end with NFT?
I was told it was August 1st, but we have to give them 30 days if we were to leave them. So, right. But if we go with TransFinder, I would ask to keep NFT for the first 2 months, just so that we can make sure that we get the children transferred over and all the correct information transferred over. Because that would be the driver's information, the bus information, the child's information.
I want them to understand this piece too, about the tracking piece, because Ms. Gore just went through all that, President Gore did, but they wouldn't have that piece, right, with TransFinder for just this first piece that you're talking about, the initial piece. But talk a little bit about what that procedure looks like.
The phases?
Yeah, well, no, I'm talking about as far as a student. If we want to make sure we know where a student is, in your past district, never lost anybody, but there wasn't a tracking system. So if we were to not have that option, okay, what would that process look like if we needed to make sure that this kid got here and parents needed to be communicated?
Okay. So not having the scanner, this would allow the drivers to do more one-on-one, get to know the child. We would actually do a seating chart, which is required by TEA, and so they would know exactly where the child sits. If they get on the bus, they can look up, kind of see where the child's at. They would know name to face. This would help reinforce that relationship between driver and child, and they would be more aware of who gets on and who gets off versus just a scan and walking onto the bus.
So with your experience and your background, what do you prefer? A child scanning on, or the driver and the student having that relationship and them knowing where they're sitting? And
the driver and the child having that relationship.
Okay.
Because you have more communication with that child. You'll get to know them.
So currently, we do not have radios on the bus, do we?
You're talking about?
CB, like a.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
We do?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
It's the 2 new buses that are getting the radios.
Okay.
Yeah, they came without
So
radios.
we have open radios with dispatch,
Correct,
for lack of a better term.
correct.
Okay. Now, so your previous difference, y'all did not track, and you had a dispatch
Mm-hmm.
for, like, if you had to locate something that your dispatch and your driver would communicate to try to find that, right?
Correct.
And how did that work?
Contacting them, they usually radioed in the bus. I'm going to use an example as a sub driver. If I'm sub driving on a bus and I need to know, I'm getting over the radio with a PA on the inside of the bus to account for this child. If so-and-so says, hey, they saw him, I may have pulled the bus over and I may go physically look for that child, and then I'll radio back in that that child's on the bus.
Right, that was my old way. That was, so, just trying to understand what you're saying, if we went to that system, how would that work for you?
For me, personally,
I mean, naturally, you need the route software to
right,
develop.
right.
I definitely get that part, but I had mixed feelings listening to you talk, because you seem to like the archaic way of doing it back in your old district, and y'all, everything worked pretty smoothly. But-
No,
If I may interject, it's not, talk about that, it's not really archaic, because there are a lot of districts that don't have the tracking system to find exactly where a kid is all the time.
Archaic in the sense that it's not technologically modern with all the scanning in.
well, I thought the scanning was cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would have loved to love NFT if all of the aspects worked, but they're not.
But the $140,000 presentation was the total package of scanning and everything.
That's the total package of
So
scanning,
that's
yes.
what I'm trying to get in,
Yes.
is that if you had your druthers, if you had your way, doing it the way you did in the previous district with the new software for $15,000, would there be another add-on step, or would that get you through a system like you
No,
like it?
we would still try to continue to do the add-on steps. We know that, I understand that parents want to communicate or follow their child and be able to communicate back and forth, and know when their child's arriving back at the school from sport. I mean, that would be something that I would continue to move for.
So just the route software and the $15,000, it would be adequate for that first year.
Correct.
And don't most of the students that are going back and forth to games and stuff, most of them have phones
Correct.
where parents are probably tracking them.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah, you've got Life 360, AirTags, Galaxy
Yeah.
Tags, yeah.
iPhone, you can track an iPhone without having to pay for a subscription.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking at that age level anyway, they're probably already being tracked
Right.
or
Well,
could track them.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we also have fallback methods in Parents Square for parent communication should something, I mean, we can go to the links, and I'm sorry, of creating groups for each individual bus if we had to. So like, there's some other options that we could provide her.
That we already paid for.
Yes.
That was gonna be my next question, is if an event like, cause the first week of school, everything runs late, or
Well-
last year we had some buses where we were having to combine routes and they were running late, so what would be our contingency plan?
That's where the Stop Finder, the parent app, would come in. That would be communicated with these routes.
Okay. so
Yeah.
you're still
Yeah.
communicating
Yes, there is still.
part of the 15,000.
Correct, correct. So part of the 15,000 is the Stop Finder parent app. It's the Info Finder, where anybody who's moving into the district or current enrollees in the district can look up their address and find out where their stops are. It would get us the routing program itself. And
And
it-
we don't have to spend the money for the RFID tags anymore, correct? We're making those.
Correct, correct.
We can just do regular badges.
Well, until, that would be something that we would talk with TransFinder to see if the regular badges work, or if we still need the other badges for when we move on to the scanning. Yes. So.
Did you have more? We kinda interrupted you, sorry.
No, you're fine. The other one was cameras, the cameras on the buses. I kind of looked in, I'm doing some webinars right now with a few, I don't have that one on here, sorry. It's but I'm doing a few webinars with some of the cameras. You got ProVision, you got REI, you've got Safe Fleet, and so just everything's going cloud-based. And so that's going to be something we're looking into the next few years about updating the camera system. So that's kind of where we're at. So.
Yeah. And so just, once again, I wanted her to come. There's no action item or voting on this, but I knew there was a lot of information here to give. And as I said before, she's been looking into this for a long time, just seeing what could be most efficient for us as far as safety and also making sure we're taking care of everything. So thank you. We'll be bringing something to you guys in the future regarding this.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to item number 8, legal policy updates as listed in policy update 123, including all that are listed. All that are listed.
Yes, I was going to go ahead and bring my computer up here because it's quite a bit of local policy updates. I'll just hit a few highlights of them and open the floor if there's any questions about them. Like one in particular, something that we do already. Like say if there's a violent activity on campus, we already notify the parents. Right now, the state has put that in policy. Dr. Torres has to send out communications via emails, text messages, social media, other means to notify the community and the parents. Like say if there's a gun on campus, if there's a fire on campus, it has to parents have to be notified, the community has to be notified of that threat. It says violent activity. That was one. Another one that struck me, jumped out at me, was one that used to be where parents could challenge library resources, other material. Right now it says request to reconsider. So the state has changed that a little bit. It's just request to reconsider, not challenge that particular material. So there's some little changes like that that jumped out at me. But there's quite a bit of them. If you want to take a second to scroll through them, and if there's any questions regarding them, I can try to expand on them.
Did anyone have any questions on any of these from the board packet we received? No? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will go to item number 9, presentation of 24-25 employee handbook, benefits package, and substitute management systems. Mr. Martinez.
Good evening, board members, President Gore, Dr. Torres. So we'll just start off with some basic changes to the employee handbook. As you probably know, TASB sends these changes to us. This year, there did not appear to be that many. Mr. Gaywood had mentioned earlier about the use of nicotine. That's also been added to the employee handbook. Of course, you would see that in the table of contents, but I'm just going to go down in terms of the order of the table that you see above. So probationary contracts, one of the things that it had changed is that normally somebody coming into a school district gets a probationary contract. Of course, if they have 5 of the last 8 years of teaching, they call it the 5 of 8 rule. Normally, you would be on a probationary contract for 1 year. But in our district, part of our District of Innovation plan allows us to keep that person on a probationary for 2 years. And that's really to ensure that the district's made a good choice in terms of hiring and making sure that we have our rights as well as being able to make any critical decisions later on as we recommend for the coming school year. So they said that if you have that as part of your District of Innovation plan, part of your policies, to go ahead and add that language. So we've added that in there. Paychecks, they've actually added a piece in there. They're basically saying that you can see the sentence, employees are responsible for regularly reviewing their accuracy of their paychecks. So we need to add that in there just so employees are aware of that. Payroll deductions and overpayments. Basically, there's already language in the employee handbook just talking about that if we overpay an employee, then that money needs to be recouped. This was just language that's a little bit more specific in terms of establishing a process with the employee and making sure that that employee is also aware that you are letting them know that you have to recoup that money, and that employee is agreeing that we are going to enact that process. And then quarantine leave for peace officers. So before, that was following the CDC guidelines as far as COVID and things like that. But basically they said just use what is already in your policy. And so in our policy, it just basically talks about what would apply to any employee if there was a communicable disease in terms of what would be necessary, the necessary steps for that. So there's no specific language anymore to police officers or emergency medical technicians, which we don't have in our district. And then harassment of students, basically those policies are all the same. They are just making sure that you add policy DEF, which does cover what would happen to an employee if they were involved in those actions as far as termination. And all of these things are already in our policies. They've just made some changes as to make sure that you are stating that that policy does apply to that particular situation. And then once again, the tobacco and nicotine products and e-cigarette use, adding the word "and nicotine," and that was added in the employee handbook. And then the asbestos management plan, once again, language we already have, but you just saw policy update 123, so policy update 122 had addressed that. They're just making sure you add, once again, that policy is addressing that. And then just making changes to the index. So those were the changes as far as the employee handbook. Employee benefits. So I know there's been a lot of talk with employee benefits, and I did provide you with a document as far as how that formula is used as far as the state of Texas. So back in 2001, they enacted this law, and so the government provides $75 towards the contribution as far as the state government. Then the employer provides $150, at least $150, and then the total minimum contribution has to be at least $225. Once again, districts, employers can choose to contribute whatever they feel that they want to, based on whatever the needs of the district are. I think I stated this last year because this was actually one of my first presentations, that I was very impressed that Venus ISD contributes $350 towards medical insurance, which is probably one of the highest in the area. I know, once again, big difference from $225. Now with insurance going up, is that enough? Never is. We know that. But that is definitely a very positive for the district. So along with that, what the state chose to do last year is they made increases as far as to the medical insurance by regions. We are in Region 11. We are close to Region 10. You're talking about the DFW area. And the way they look at coming up with price increases is they look at the number of claims, pharmacy, all these types of things that go into creating the premiums. And so ours went up for an individual about $44 a month, whereas right down the road in Region 10, theirs went up $51 a month. And then you're going to have some districts where it probably didn't go up that much at all, just because of the geographical area they are in and the number of claims and medical issues that are going on. So yes, individually $44 a month, and then I think you can continue to scroll, please. And then of course these are the various plans that are offered to us, and please continue. And so what you see here is our medical premiums for this school year, based on the different plans that we have. Once again, $44 was the average as far as the individual, but it could range anywhere from $44 to $160 just based on the plan that is chosen by the individual. And with the these are prices that are included with the $350. So imagine what an employee only would be paying if you added that $350 to it plus $155. And then these are some of our other benefits that we continue to have: telehealth, dental insurance, which are dentalist free. Once again, very impressed by that. Critical illness insurance, employee assistance, vision, life. We do a $20,000 life plan. A lot of districts only do $5,000 or maybe $10,000, but our district does offer a $20,000 life insurance free to the employee. And so basically those are the changes as far as our medical benefits and other benefits for this school year. I believe that's it for that portion. And then finally, the board asked me last month to look at some substitute management systems. And so I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot. I did call ESS and I had a meeting with them individually and just had a very frank conversation with them about what it is they're offering us. Ms. President Gore, I believe you used the word advocacy, which I think was a good way to put it. How are they advocating for the district? So I just wanted to kind of review that. Remember, the program cost us $102,375. They currently have 66 subs. They do provide weekly trainings according to them, hiring, benefits, and incentives. Now, they do provide a substitute coordinator. She is housed in Crowley, and whenever there's an issue at the campus, and we're going to be working more diligently with the campuses, but if there's an issue, then this person's job is to help the campuses fill those jobs. And I know there was a question also last time about subs putting in, or how do we know when the system stops calling the sub? Each sub can actually put in that time. So if I'm a sub and I don't want the system to call me after 5 in the morning, I can actually go into the system and do that. And that is actually done through frontline absence management. So then how would it look if Venus ISD was to do it and do it in-house? It would still cost us $87,000 because there's a cost difference of about $14,000 or 16.4%. What ESS did tell me, because I think you've mentioned, or the board had mentioned, that what would it take, for example, if we were to move on? They did say that it would be a 60-day notice to end the contract, and that could happen at any time. It's not like, oh, well, you're past September 1st, you can't do it. And once again, as part of my frank conversations with them, is okay, if we were to do that, what happens to our sub pool? Where do they go? And they did say that it's not proprietary, so we would be able to contact those subs and to start recruiting them if we were to do it in-house. The other things to consider with doing it in-house, and these can be, very time-consuming, is now we're needing to, of course, recruit, train, hire. What is the frequency of that? In another district, a couple other districts I was in, we did it once a month. And then making sure that we have a pool there ready to go in case we were to transition on. Then looking at ACA as far as insurance benefits. While pretty much we're not going to be probably in a situation to be able to pay for that $350 for a sub, we still do have to offer that substitute insurance so that they can have the option of buying it if they want, which would be at the full price. And I mentioned, the least price of $155 plus $350, so a sub would have to pay about $500 X dollars to get insurance. And then workers' comp cost, we need to look at that because now they're an employee of the district instead of an employee of another entity. And so if they're hurt or something happens, so now they're a liability for us. And then a possible need for a substitute coordinator and what would be the payroll cost for that. I'm not saying that's an absolute requirement, but if we want to make it efficient, that'd be something to consider. So some other companies that I found was Swing. Most of these companies are based out of Texas, but they do business in Texas. Swing, so they recruit the subs as needed. They can provide flexible pricing. They are partnered with 5,500 partners, and these are some of the states they do business in: California, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Illinois. And you see there that scheduled demos and meeting to discuss services and products. I've already been engaging with some of these companies and having discussions with them. I actually met in person with Swing last week, and we started some conversations. They were providing me with some information. They are currently working, I think the district that they work in that's close to here is Lancaster. What they have told me and what they're saying, and people from Lancaster were actually at this meeting, they've had a 93% fill rate for their subs. I was very impressed by that. So I definitely am engaging more conversations with them. Kelly Education, which many of you are probably familiar with Kelly Services. Kelly Services is a talent pool. Kelly Education is basically a derivative of that. They are part of their company, but about 25 years ago, they started focusing on education. So they not only provide substitutes, they provide many types of educators and to fulfill any kinds of needs. I've been having conversations with them. They've asked me for some of our information because they normally do not do business in this geographical area. So one of the things they were suggesting is possibility of if you could partner with another district, that might be a way to look at making it a possible option. So they are getting some information from me and looking into that. So we are having conversations with them also. And then just finally, what I wanted to add on there is partnerships and best practices. So regardless of, ESS, Swing, Kelly, whomever, I think there needs to be a more concerted effort to having definitely a committed monthly meeting with whatever partner we have, if we choose to go that way or continue that partnership. Making sure that partner is going to advocate for Venus ISD. And then along with us as a district, and we talked at our leadership meeting last week with the principals, just having our best practices in place. What are we doing to ensure that we have subs prepared as far as are there subfolders in the classrooms? Are there logistics being provided to our subs? Is it a welcoming and collaborative environment? Because regardless of whether we use a partner or do it ourselves, these are just best practices. And I think I mentioned to you, I started in this field as a sub. As a teacher, I had to prep my lessons, not only in English, but I had to do it in Spanish because I was a bilingual teacher. And then as an AP, monitoring these things, as a campus principal, trying to get subs and being out there also, doing scrambling at the last minute. I know what that's like. And then on this end and the HR end, and definitely trying to support our principals. I know what it's like to be there. I know what it's like to scramble, 6 in the morning and find somebody. And by no means do I want them to be feeling like they don't have a partner, not only with whomever we use, but with myself too. So that's the information that I have right now. And of course, if the board chooses, then I will definitely continue conversations and look into more detailed information as far as what we can do to create a better situation for ourselves.
So, if we were to make a change, what do you think is a realistic time frame for you because you would have to build up the pool, you would have to train, you would have to do all of that. Are you looking at 90 days, 120 days?
Well, we know that to get out of the ESS, it'd be 60 days. We know that for sure, right? I think it would be based, if we did go with a partner, right? What is their ability to provide a seamless transition as far as, do you have a pool ready to go? Or can this start tomorrow? Of course, if we were to do it ourselves, if we were to do it ourselves, I would recommend probably looking at the springtime, just because we would have to start putting things in place here to make that happen. But as far as the other companies, if they're able to do it, my understanding is that they have probably talent pools ready to go. And so it would just be an issue of how quickly can we turn that around.
And with Swing, you said you did talk to somebody, the district who actually uses them?
Lancaster. So at the meeting I was at, they were actually there, and she told me that she loves it. She's the chief human resources officer, and their executive directors were there, and they told me they love it. They really have worked well with them, and they have a good partnership with them. But I will say this: ESS, like I said, I had a frank conversation with her. She did tell me, the rep, her name's Courtney, she told me that she has probably met more with Dr. Torres and myself in the time we've been here than she had in the previous 3 years with previous administrators. And so, and I asked her, what districts are you in that are close to here? And she said, I have a really good relationship with Crowley. Why? Because I meet with them every month, and they tell me what their issues are. They tell me what concerns they have, and we try and work collaboratively to try and resolve those issues. So, yeah, exactly. Of course, I thought about that too.
So, part of my new guy in this here.
Yes, sir.
I'm still kind of learning this system with ESS. How much did you say it was?
It shows that there was like 102,000.
Okay,
but that includes the payroll of the subs.
Right. Is
Yeah.
that yearly? Is that per contract?
Per sub use. So if we have less subs coming in, we're going to pay less money.
Okay. That basically that was my question was
Yeah.
was if they're not filling our spots, because
Yeah.
listening to other board members and my own personal experience with this system, or at least somebody who is using the system, I mean, you go on there and Venus doesn't show up. You know, you're a sub and you're like, hey, I'll go work in Venus today. It wasn't showing up in the system that they were using.
And
Do we
those-
pay less
And yeah,
if they're not using it?
Yeah, they're getting paid on the number of fills that they have. So if they're not sending us subs, they're not going to make as much money. But once again, those are conversations that, regardless if it's ESS, whomever, I'm going to want to know what is going on.
Is there a base? Is there just like a bare minimum number that, regardless if we use one or none, we're going to have to pay this much?
So you saw that it's a 16.4% or $14,000. So think of it in terms of that. Let's say there was no subs there. We're still going to pay them $14,000.
Per month?
I think that's per the year. Yeah.
Okay.
Did Swing give you any idea of cost?
That's what some of the things we're looking at, because we barely had that conversation. And so they sent me some documents initially, and then I think I met with them Thursday evening. So I haven't had time to really get into that more with them.
And I know ESS is also an out-of-state program.
Yes, yeah, because they work in all in many
Because
states.
they only have a few campuses in Texas, and we happen to be one of them. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely, like you guys said, it's definitely worth looking into and seeing if there's, other entities that we can partner up with. But if not, and you choose to go a different direction, then we'll look at what we can do to make that happen.
I like the 93% fill rate.
Oh, I love it.
Can you imagine how much we'd pay ESS if we filled 93% of our subs?
You wouldn't have to have them in the gyms anymore. They could be in classrooms.
Yes, of course. Yeah, definitely.
So do you think by the next meeting you would have more info from
Yes, ma'am.
Swing?
Definitely.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Or all of them. I'm not
All of them,
picking one. I'm
yes.
just saying all of them. Swing just sounds so good, that 93% number.
I like the 93.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for taking that so serious and getting that information.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to item number 10, discussion of proposed future Venus ISD bond. Randy Mayer.
Okay, as Brandy's coming up, her and I have been visiting, and several of us been just visiting, just looking at a lot of different things here as far as historically where we were a year and a half ago regarding a need for facilities regarding a bond. So we've been working together. She's going to present some numbers to you here. Then Mr. Gatewood and I are going to piggyback on that after some of the financial numbers and talk about some particular options. But this is really just an opportunity to give you some information.
Okay, good evening, President Gore, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Torres. So I'm going to give you kind of just where we are now and kind of the work we've been doing just kind of with our future project planning. So right now, this gives us our current outstanding debt profile. So you can see here, I know it's kind of small, but we started with about $35 million from our bond. There you go. Yeah.
So you can see our original par for our bonds and then our amount that we have currently outstanding. So you can see that with the call dates, we have the first group there is non-callable, and then the others are callable in 2025 with a final maturity. So if you can kind of scoot over so they can see that other side. The chart just kind of shows you the principal and interest as it's traveled through the years. And so earlier in our budget presentation, we talked about the planned defeasance. So the board approved a resolution for defeasance of current debt last August. And so this was a really strategic move by the board to kind of review where we are with our current debt and make some sound fiscal financial decisions. And so we are estimating right now, working with our financial advisor and our bond counsel to work through the paperwork. And so we're estimating right now with everything that we have an interest savings of a little over $1 million that you can see there. And so by doing these kind of things, that we're increasing our bond capacity, making sure that we're planning and making sound financial decisions for our future planning. Oh, am I on? Okay, it worked. And so looking here, this is just showing a visual representation of our taxable values as we've gone through the years. So looking at 2024, so you can see how we're just steadily growing, and we're feeling that. We're looking around, we're seeing new neighborhoods coming in, ground is being turned everywhere, we're getting businesses in Venus, and we're growing, and we're kind of feeling that change, and this is stuff we've been talking about. So increasing these property values, we're going to continue to see those increases, and those dollar amounts do affect. So I know earlier we kind of talked about how increase in taxable values doesn't necessarily affect our general fund revenue because of the state funding formulas designed to keep us flat unless we increase students. However, it does positively impact us on the INS side. So when we're looking at INS Fund 599 debt service that we use to pay for bonds, an increase in the property value does increase that side and generate revenue so that we can pay down due defeasance and increase our bond capacity. I don't know if okay. And so this gives you a visual representation here. Venus ISD has lowered tax rates to property owners for the past 6 years. So you can see here, back in the past, the voters of Venus ISD did go out for a tax rate election and did increase the M&O rate to the highest that it could at that time. And we have kept a steady INS rate, as you can see, for the last 5 years. With the compression on the M&O side, that's why we're starting to see those reductions after 2019, and that was directly related to legislative updates for House Bill 3 in 2019. So that began to show some compression on the M&O side to ease the burden on our constituents on the tax there, but our INS rate has maintained the same. And it was a sound financial decision for the board to keep INS there because we do know that the only way we can grow and expand with our facilities is through bond. And so that's the way school business is designed. That's the way the funding formula is designed by the state. We go out for bonds to build facilities. We have a tax rate that's part of our total tax rate to fund that debt. And so by keeping that tax rate where it is, we have been able to provide some relief to our payers, but maintain healthy fund balance on the INS side so that we can come back and defease our callable bonds and save the dollars that were anticipated to save this year and in future years. On that very last column, one of the things we're looking is proposing to bring the INS side up to 49 cents, and that is a projected increase of 1.241. And so you can go to and that would be for next year. If we decided to move forward with this. So we can go, am I still? Okay. Can we center this? Thank you. So based on 40, you can see here, based on INS target rate, so right now we're at 43 cents. If we were to go to 49 cents and a repayment term of 25 years, which is really, great to be thinking that we can come out with a bond capacity election size of that and pay it in 25 years is really great for the credit worthiness of the district and for future planning so that we're not paying that additional 5 years. It gives us more flexibility as we continue to grow and expand.
So right now, our financial advisors, based on the information that we have now, and it did include that defeasance that $1 million savings. It didn't include a lot of future defeasance, which would only grow this as we move through the years. And keep in mind, right now, we don't have a lot of retail or business tax revenue. As we begin to add businesses like Charlie Cheesesteak, and as we add the truck stop, that's going to generate additional revenue for tax purposes there, and those things are not planned here. So once those things start adding and we feel more confident about that, it's going to expand this number here as we move through the years. But this is where we're looking at right now. We're staying very conservative. We want to make sure that we are viewing the numbers with the capacity that we have for the sound fiscal policies. So right now, that's just highlighted there for 49 cents. If we were to go to 49 cents for 25 years, calculated election size is 62 million. We can go to the next. Oh, that's me. Sorry. Okay, and I'll turn it over to, one thing I did want to add, we had been bond planning with Huckabee in the past. That's who we had used for our prior. We would like to continue operating with Huckabee based on our CH legal policy that we have right now, because Huckabee, an architect, is who we would use, is a service under, it does not have to apply to the contract professional services under Education Code 44031. So a district may, under Government Code 2254, as its option, contract professional services such as an architect based on demonstrated competence, which Huckabee did demonstrate competence with us in the past, is my understanding. They did a good job and worked hard for us. And then they also provided us with a fair and reasonable price. Now, because we hadn't mentioned this to the board, we haven't gone to them to get an updated contract yet. But if we want to move forward under CH legal policy and Government Code 2254, we can move forward with working with Huckabee based on those requirements. And just to give you an update, we are, based on the Education Code and the Government Code, we can't go for bid and get the lowest bid. So this Government Code is put into place so that we can get competent and professional services that apply to our district, and we're not necessarily bound to the lowest price. And so it's intentionally put there for services of architects, attorneys, CPAs, engineers, or other fiscal agents. And so we would be operating under CH Legal and Government Code 2254, and we can move forward with working with Huckabee. If the board is happy with that decision, then we could start working with them on numbers and contracts, just to kind of see where we would need to go next.
So the board would need to vote on that?
They would not need to vote on that. So what we would plan to do is we can bring that back for information. So if we decide to move forward, we would come back with likely another presentation again in August or September. We would bring that back as informational purposes so that you would see everything and all the plan and all the details after that.
Anybody have any questions? No.
But the board does have the option of either continuing to use Huckabee or send it out for RFQs and interview other architectural firms, just like the board did when they used WRA on the last go-around. So the board has those options. Personally, I'm very pleased with Huckabee. Nothing wrong with WRA. They did a good job. But in all of our past experience with Huckabee, I think they've done a very good job. We've got a good relationship with them, and I don't see any reason why not continuing with them.
Anybody else have anything? No? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And Dr. Torres is going to
So
continue.
just a couple other pieces. So I wanted to talk about the financial piece there. If you can scroll, yeah. So so we did a demographic study with Zonder that was from a few years back, okay? And we spoke with them and asked them how accurate are these numbers, which they said, yes, they're still very accurate. Now we can pay them to go out for a full new demographic study, but this is only not very old. And so that piece is highlighted right there. That was from last year. So, but if you look at 23, 24, if you can scroll to the right down to the end. Yes. Okay. And so I don't have my laser pointer, but if you move up to where it says 2333, okay, 2333, that was our projected enrollment from the demographers. We actually ended up with 2336 this year. So we reached what, three people over. They were pretty accurate, like I said. And then if you look at how it trends out from there, it's showing 54 students, right, 2387. Then it's showing 44. That's basically 98, almost 100. Then it gets to 77. That's just in the next 3 years. Then to 88. Okay, that's just in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, that we could be obviously getting a couple of hundred students. Okay, and even if you were to look at the low percentage there, if also breaking that down too, if you go to the next page, that just breaks it down by campus. But like, for example, the high school was projected to be at 709. It ended up, they had their enrollment as high as 715. The middle school was projected at 506. Their largest enrollment peaked at 528. Venus Elementary, 678, projected was at 695. And so we track those numbers every day. Shelley Hicks, and our PEMS clerk, sends those to me every single day. We're looking at those. VPS was projected at 440, and it came in at 425. So that was the only campus that came in about 15 students below what it was projected. So bottom line, go back to the first slide right before this. Bottom line is this has actually been very accurate as far as what we're looking at. And so as you know, now we've got portable buildings over at the elementary. We've got 2 over there. We've got 4 at the high school. And then, of course, the middle school has got several different portables out there. You know, looking at that and seeing as we start moving forward and looking at numbers and stuff is there's always options to go out and buy more portable buildings. Okay, but if this is even close or even half of this growth, if we were to go out for a bond and do that next May and then begin plans and begin to design and start building something, we're not going to have anything at least for 3 years. And so the question also is going to be where are we going to put these, you know, 100 to 175 kids, 150 kids in the next 3 to 4 years. Okay, that's even if we were to start on our structure as early as next summer. Okay, go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is just you might want to shrink that a little bit. This is just a map that we pulled from the demographic study that's a couple of years old, and you can shrink it down and make it a little bit bigger. And obviously, see up there where it's listed, it talks a little bit about that there were some active single family homes going at the time. Like I said, this is a couple of years old, but really, if you look at it, you see what's there in yellow. Okay, and then you see what's there in green, and then you see those, it's kind of small green. The biggest thing for seeing this now is it says Venus has 13 future single-family developments with groundwork underway in Ridgeview. Well, Ridgeview, the groundwork, that's already all the foundation is already set there. That's the company. That's right across from the baseball field that's just sat there for the last couple of years. But that's just tied up, I believe, in court because there were some challenges there or whatever with that company. But that's all set and ready to go. It's got water. It's got everything. Someone could come in tomorrow and say, hey, we're going to pick this up and start building those homes. Bankston is another one that is just south of here. Actually, I drive by there quite often. I joke with Joe because he drives by there too. And they're up to 16 homes there now that they're building. That build out is 84 lots. When this map up here that you see, there was no movement there. That's actually moving there, and homes are actually starting to be built over there. So you have that. Also, if you go over to Patriot Estates now, I know we have some folks that even live there. They are continuing to build on the west side near there now. Those homes are starting to continue to go up. I drove
it Saturday, and there's 16 homes, new homes, on the ground right now.
On the ground right now. And so this once again, this is based upon where it was, and we're already seeing movement there as well. Not to mention Goodland, which you're seeing all the signs, that's the Prairie Ridge, which is now Goodland Homes. All the work that they're doing, if you've been up near that area and seen, the homes are just continuing to be built south all the way down. Now, they're on the Midlothian side right now. They came and visited with us several months back about their project, but that's slated obviously for several thousand homes. But once that road is built, then everything on the west side, which is all Venus ISD, we're projected to get several thousand homes.
They're cutting streets, doing dirt work on the Venus side, Johnson County side now.
Yep.
They're open Saturday.
Yes. And so, all that being said, we are a little bit in a different place. I know there's several folks that sat on that long-range planning committee. We have all that data. We have all that information, which this is some of it from here. And just looking from where we were a year and a half ago to where we are now. And so we've met with Huckabee several times just to look at some options and to see kind of where we are and where we would be. But I think what's most important, you can go to the next slide, please. No, there's not one more. Okay, well, that's on here. Basically, our next steps would be just reviewing our facilities and looking at where we are with our architect that Ms. Brandy had talked about, Ms. Mayo. Form a stakeholder committee. As I said, some of y'all served on that committee, and then begin to start setting those meetings and those dates to get this information out. Our bond capacity obviously is up. I do know the year and a half it plummeted way down to, I believe, around 40 million or lower than 40 million. We're up to around 64 million or 62.5 to 64 million. And as you heard Ms. Mayo said, and you just heard I mention on the residential, things are happening, homes are being built now, businesses are coming in, and also I do know that down 109, there are some warehouses that have been slated to be able to come into Venus. That would be generating some more revenue for us from the industrial side, as well as Stallion Ranch, that's one of those 13 developments. So all that being said, this would be our next steps to be able to see where we need to go, what we need to do. We have a list of the folks that served on that committee. We want to be able to contact them and start those meetings up here, hopefully in the next couple of months, and see where we are. We won't go into great detail of all what we would want to exactly do now, but we do know that I know prior it was the committee had come together, went through everything, and it was concluded that, hey, we need a high school. We looked at everything. Do we need an elementary? Do we need this? Do we need that? Do we need to update this? We are going to have some needs that we need to update, just things that are worn out and that are broken that we need to fix, but that doesn't fix your growth problem. That's just updating what we have or fixing certain issues that we have. And so it's going to be very important for us to look at that. I visited also with several other ISDs. I went and made some visits to some other ISDs to see how they begin to build, and a lot of that started in phases, because final thing I'll say is you have a bond capacity that you're at. We go to the voters and we're able to show the community what it is that we need long-term, then we'll talk about what that number needs to be. That could be well over our bond capacity because you're only able to sell what you're eligible for. So just wanted to give you all an update on that, kind of where we are. We've been talking about this for quite some time now, and as we know, there's things that are moving that weren't in the last year and a half as far as developments and homes and different companies coming in here. So just wanted to give you all that update. If you have any questions or anything.
Can we go back to
There's
one of the, about the third presentation up there that talked to go back? Yeah, there, can you?
Make that a little bigger, yeah.
Expand that. Okay, Kirby, you were in on those meetings. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I think
And I think we have, we've got several numbers that Hilltop ran for us.
Yeah, if you see Schedule 1 and Schedule 2, they are based on the INS tax rate target of 43 cents, so no change. And just like Mr. Russell stated, the calculated election size are $49 and $47 million respectively. They are just slightly higher. When I looked at the figures when I first came from Hilltop, they were a little more with the taxable values increases year over year in the first 5 years. They had kept them really, they were a little more conservative because I think at that time we were talking about a large inflation and a lot of increases in prices, and there was a little more concern on the real estate market at that time, just post-COVID. When now that we look back on that, I think that the fears were maybe not as heightened as, it turned out to be better than expected. And so we were able to have the actual values be a little higher. And so that caused to show you a little more increase that you see there.
Well, and you're correct. And one thing that she did notice is that they obviously they pay the overall tax rate, the INS and the M&O, and with the state compressing everything, their taxes have been going down a lot, because we've been compressed way down.
Did anyone else have a question?
Their school taxes have gone down. From their standpoint, they don't see,
Yeah,
you say, hey,
yeah.
your tax have dropped for the last 6 years. But they're like, what do you mean my tax have dropped for the last 6 years?
paying more.
They don't see all the different county and everything, so.
I think the only time we did see an actual reduction was last year with the 100K homestead exemption increase. There was an actual, people actually paid less taxes than the year before. Now we're still on 100K, and now we're kind of caught up to that, so.
Well, and like I said, this was just some information. The bottom line is this: is you saw the numbers, and there we're going to have to do something. Obviously, we can line the whole ISD with portables everywhere. That's not a big return on your investment, but the goal is going to be able to see where we have to be planning now for that increase. As I shared with you, we're already over a capacity in our schools as well. If you look at what the capacity is, we're over that. And all that was done in the prior year and a half when y'all did the long range piece. All that information is in there. We certainly haven't been losing students. And so those are the pieces that we'll, if and when we decide to go out and do that we'll be informing and educating the voters out there of the reason and what it is that we need to do for our kids and also just for the growth. Oh yeah. No, as I was saying, even if we were to even start now, we would have to be purchasing some of those, potentially having to purchase some of those portables anyway. That's if we were to start, yesterday. But the hope is that long term we're not having portable roll out there everywhere across the board at every single campus, and we have that's definitely the goal.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, we'll go to item number 11. Executive session at 8:11 to review 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, and 551.0821. We will reconvene from executive session at 9:17 p.m. We'll go to item number 13, the consent agenda. Did anybody have any questions about anything in the consent agenda? No, do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda from last month's board minutes.
A motion by Amber, second.
I'll second.
Second by Kirby. All in favor? Motion carries. It's 6 people. Go to item 14, approve the 24-25 student code of conduct.
Did we get that? Is this the code of conduct that you presented on earlier, Mr. Gatewood?
Yes, ma'am. There were no changes whatsoever. Just we're waiting on guidance from the state how to deal with those non-tobacco nicotine products.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the 24-25 student code of conduct.
A motion by Amber, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe, all in favor? Motion carries. Got item number 15, consider approval of memorandum of understanding with Midlothian ISD for bus driver training.
Good evening again. Would like to present an MOU to have Midlothian ISD train our bus drivers. Currently, we have 9 staff members that need bus training. They have a price if we, basically it's for one person it's $1,000 per participant. For 2 or more is $800. 700 for 3 or more, or 600 for 4 or more. We have 9. It'll roughly equate to $5,400. We provide the bus, and they train over at Midlothian ISD football stadium.
Is this who normally does the training for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's just more efficient for us to contract it out with Midlothian and pay for our own trainer, because again, it's $5,400, and that's way cheaper than a salary for someone to hire our own trainer.
Do we currently have someone who trains, or we still do it in-house right now?
So we don't have
Yeah, I
anyone.
was gonna say, this isn't the 20-hour training, this is the actual teaching them how to drive a bus.
Yes, sir, 32 hours.
Yeah, I do know that Ms. Tubbs is wanting to do that as well. Eventually, we'd like to have trainer and train our own folks, and I think we'll get there eventually.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Midlothian ISD for bus driving training.
A motion by Amber, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kirby, all in favor? Motion carries. Go to item number 16, consider approval of Candor Consulting Diagnostics LLC.
Hi, good evening, Board of Trustees. I'm here to bring you the consider approval for Candor Consulting and Diagnostics. Venus ISD is looking to contract with Candor Consulting to provide special education services. Access will be granted to appropriate programs such as eSped for Candor personnel to complete their work. Agreed upon rates are below. Full-time monolingual school psychologist services, monolingual speech language pathologist services, bilingual speech language pathology, and monolingual speech language pathology assistant services. That this is some of the options that Candor can provide for us. This contract is, we're recommending this contract for approval not to exceed $125,000, and it is, the funding source is currently the general fund. I see I've left that off there.
That's probably a dumb question, but reading through that, I noticed that it's in Belton. And in there it said that we're responsible for travel to and from, miscellaneous expenses, meals, and housing or lodging if needed. I just didn't know that's kind of an open check to, or blank check to, I didn't know who holds the accountability over that, of whether that's needed or.
So I believe that's probably just an all-encompassing thing to cover any travel that is required by the district. But Ms. Petersay manages this contract, so she might could speak more to the services that are provided.
So yes, it is based out of Belton, but they recruit people within the area. So we have someone coming from, I believe it's the Colony, coming in 4 days a week. Those hours will be pre-approved each month, so nothing will exceed that's not pre-approved. That's one of the things that we put in the clause of the contract so that we don't have a blank check or open, like, let's take advantage. I'm going to be here for 8 hours a day, but then I'm going to charge you on the weekend. So, yes. So, they did accept the rates that they piggybacked off of the contract with Joshua, and so has matched those rates. So those rates are locked in. So there is no travel expenses. That it is an hourly rate and it encompasses everything.
Any other questions? No, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Candor Consulting.
A motion by Amber, do we have a second?
I'll second.
The next one. All in favor?
I'll wait longer next time.
Motion carries. Go to item number 17, consider approval of Superior Pediatric Care LLC.
Yes, hi, good evening again. So we're bringing consider approval for Superior Pediatric Care Inc. We did also use an interlocal agreement for this contract too. So this contract, they can offer all these services listed here: licensed psychologists, special LSSPs, certified educational diagnosticians. That's everything that's included in the contract. More specifically, you'll see the attachment there. We're looking for contract services for physical therapy services 4 hours per week at a 4-hour minimum, and occupational therapy services 21 to 24 hours a week. And this is an agreement with Superior Pediatric that we have used before, and this is based on an interlocal agreement. The amount is not to exceed $40,000, and it is funded out of the general fund.
Can you tell me what did we pay last year? Was it more?
It was, yes, I can tell you that, but it was like 38,000. 38,000.
So not too much of an increase?
Yeah, I think that we kind of just bumped it up a little bit to make sure we were safe. So it could still come in at that, 38,000 again.
Okay.
Yeah, the hourly rate has not increased.
Okay.
Is that how much we spent last year, or is that how much the contract, the maximum?
That was how much we spent in aggregate over the year. Yes, yeah, $65 an hour, but we do monitor it and keep it to a minimum.
Do you have any other questions?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Superior Pediatric Care.
Do we have a second? Got a second? All in favor? Motion carries. Go to item number 18, consider approval of refrigerated trailer for child nutrition.
Okay, so after we met, I believe last month, and discussed a refrigerator truck, there was a recommendation to review a possible refrigerated trailer for child nutrition. Ms. McCormick did obtain 3 quotes and went to review this trailer. So this is the recommendation with 3 quotes attached for the approval of a refrigerated trailer for child nutrition. This is not to exceed $36,000, and it affects Child Nutrition Fund 240. And we do have a picture. It was a last minute email to Rosie, so I don't know if she can pull that up, but it's kind of just your standard. If you could just imagine a white box that hooks to the back of a truck, that's exactly what it looks like.
So with that research that was done, does that still meet the needs?
That meet, in fact,
do you want to speak?
in fact, it's a win-win situation because it's actually going to save a lot of money, but it'll still do the very same thing that we were needing done. We'll still be able to move food when we need to. It'll still stay plugged in at all times at the bus barn, so in case we ever need it, it's ready upon demand. And the only thing we'll need is just a vehicle to pull it, and anybody can back up to it and pull it, and it'll still serve the same purpose. And in fact, the other win-win is there'll actually be more room in that than there would be in the van. So I'm excited about that. I think it was a great thing to wait and check into this. Yes, it was. Thank you very much, Mr. Shaw.
You take it to the deer leash.
I wasn't gonna tell that part, Joe.
No,
We may not.
Did anybody have any other questions?
No.
No? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the refrigerated trailer for child nutrition.
A motion by Amber. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second by Joe. All in favor?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Item number 19, consider approval of the Falk Company.
Okay, I'm getting there. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, so as you know, that we entered into a contract 4 years ago, or going on our 4th year with the Falk Company. We had a 3-year contract as presented, I believe, last September. That we were going into our final year with 2 options to renew, 2 one-year options to renew. So this is the first of 1-year option to renew. I'll let you get it pulled up there. In our previous year contracts that we were under contract and did agree to annual inflation CPI rates increases. And so with this new renewal that we're considering, they did want to increase us. I think it's 2.5%, which is actually less than the current CPI rate. And so we're requesting an increase, or an amount of $715,449.30, which is a $17,449.98 increase per annual. We want to credit Mr. Gatewood with working with the company and bringing them down. Their original request was over that 5% inflation. So he was able to bring them down to half of that increase, so that is not to affect the district. Falk Custodial does a great service for us. Our maintenance team is really happy for them, and they're doing a really good job for the district. And so that was one decision why we wanted to keep moving forward with them. As we do approach into the next year, we will be seeking RFP to make sure that we are going to maintain custodial services and enter in a new contract as we go forward. It's a very extensive process, because each custodial, before they can give us a quote, they want to come and look at our facilities. They want to know what the square footage is. They have to do all that based on calculations and formulas. And so we'll begin working on that in the next couple of months in order to be ready before July 1st of next year.
And I'm assuming the principals they talked to, and they're all in favor of bringing Falk back, correct?
Well, we spoke with the maintenance team, and they did their due diligence and reported back to me. I did not personally survey everyone. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Falk Company for 2024-2025.
A motion by Amber. Do we have a second?
One second.
Second by Kirby. All in favor? Item number 20, consider approval of matters related to, we didn't have anything, right? Item number 21, reports.
Okay, just a couple of things, updates, and that is, as you heard earlier today, the school year is right around the corner. You've heard this evening from several different departments of all the things that have been taking place on the teaching and learning side, all the training, all of our principals and staff going and getting their buckets filled up with a lot of good training, facilities getting updated, a lot of work across the board for everyone. And so our new teachers, new to the district, are going to be coming here on Thursday, and so it's just a couple of days away. We'll be welcoming them for the first time, and then they'll be here Thursday and Friday, and then next week, Monday, all staff will be back in report. And we've been working very hard all summer, really even back in the spring, as far as being very intentional about those days, what that's going to look like. Campus principals lining up their days for all of their professional development, and then we have a couple of district days as well, where they're going to be coming in and doing some training for us. Next Friday will be convocation, August the 2nd. That will be at the high school, and so we're really looking forward to that. That'll start at 7:45. We'll have breakfast, and then we'll morph over into the gym for that piece. Then we come back the following Monday. It's the last day for teachers, staff to prep, and then the kiddos show up on the 6th. So it is it is here. It is here. I will tell you, it's hasn't been much of a break, but hey, everyone has been working very hard. Very proud of a lot of the progress, and we feel like we are just moving right ahead, and so we're super excited about this year. Mr. Gatewood, do you have anything? Brandy, anybody?
I think you all have heard enough from me today.
I'm sorry, Dr. Torres, I did have one thing. Do have the custodial service that's coming down that serves out on the closest one I could find was Alvarado. They do contract their custodial service. And they're going to come down. I just think it's good practice to have them give us a quote going forward. They have to come down and measure all the square footage in all our facilities and talk to us in person. They won't give us one just over the email. So just setting that up, okay?
What is their name?
It's it is SCC, yes, sir. So I was kind of shocked that Alvarado does contract theirs. They're the closest ones. Okay.
Didn't we just approve to go with fall?
I thought going forward for next year, sir. I still would like to, hey, because it's a 1-year contract. Which,
Okay, did anybody, we'll go to item number 22, board request for additional items. Anybody have anything that they would like for next month's meeting? No? Oh.
Dr. Turner, do you have any? Regarding the bond?
Yeah, so what we're gonna do, now that we've kind of mentioned this tonight and kind of given instruction, we're wanting to meet with them as soon as possible, hopefully within the next week, and then start laying that out on a calendar. So hopefully that could be taking place around September. Typically, if we were to go out for a bond, typically that's called in February, and we could be doing our meetings, September, October, November. We could, I think the earlier the better. Some people spread them out by 2 weeks, some do it once a month. There's a lot of ways to do that. I believe previously y'all had 4 meetings, and then on meeting 5 was when that decision was made. So we're gonna meet with them next week. We wanted to give y'all an update today, and then from there I'll get that out where we will start with, as I said earlier, we'll start with looking at committee members, who was on the committee, who would like to return to be on the committee, and then any new members that want to be on there, and then we'll start scheduling those dates.
Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? No? Okay, we will go to item number 23. Oh, our next board meeting is August 19th, and we'll go to item number 23, adjourn at 9:35 p.m.